So it says, in trying to reduce the amount of fat in their diet, on average, people have decreased their consumption of red meat by 1/2 in the last 2 decades. Okay, so while trying to reduce the amount of fat in their diet, on average, I feel like that's important probably, people have decreased how much red meat they're eating in half over the last 2 decades. However, on average, those who have reduced their consumption of red meat actually consume substantially more fat than those who do not. Okay, so the big thing about paradox questions, and maybe you are aware of this, is we have to figure out what our 2 points of conflict are and really pay attention to those. So what are our 2 points of, this one's kind of easy to pick out, but what are our 2 points of conflict?
The fact that they're trying to reduce their fat by not eating red meat, but by not eating the red meat, they're actually increasing their fat or consuming substantially more fat.
Awesome. And so our answers on paradox questions, our answer will allow both of these things to be true at the same time. Oftentimes wrong answer choices will just address one of them. And if you're struggling between two, ask yourself which one of these is relating and allowing both of my points of conflict to be true at the same time, rather than the tricky wrong answer that's probably just relating to one. Have you heard that before? Okay, yeah. Sorry. That I'm like, so go ahead and read through these for me and tell me. Okay, but first, what was your prediction for this?
My prediction was, okay, they're not eating red meat. They might be eating something in place of red meat that's causing their fat to go up.
Right, but yeah, they're eating something even worse. Okay, yeah. Which I actually am a big fan of red meat, so.
I know, me too.
I'm like everything in moderation, especially if it's not like processed and packaged. All right, so go ahead and start with A.
All right, A, many more people have reduced their consumption of red meat over the last 2 decades than have not. Crossed it out.
Yes, why?
Doesn't tell me why more fat is.
Yeah, we're just talking about the people who they were saying that more people have done this and not done it. It's not focusing on our 2 points of conflict. Excellent.
High prices. Okay, I don't even like that because we're not talking about cost, but high prices over the last 2 decades have done as much to decrease the consumption of red meat as health concerns have. That doesn't tell me why more fat is an outcome of reducing red meat.
Right. And this one I feel like is tricky because it says like higher prices. So it's giving us another reason of why maybe the red meat has decreased. Yeah. But we're only focusing on the people that are actually trying to reduce their amount of fat in the diet. We're not just saying like, hey, red meat has gone down by 50%. So I actually feel like B is a tricky wrong answer. So I like that you picked up on that so easily.
Yay. Okay, see, people who reduce their consumption of red meat tend to consume as much of other foods that are high in fat as do those who have not reduced their consumption of red meat. People who reduce their consumption as much of other foods. So this one tripped me up because I was trying to translate as much of other foods. I was trying to picture in my head like levels.
Yep. So what is this say? This saying is people who reduce their consumption of red meat tend to consume as much of other foods that are high in fat as do those who have not reduced their consumption of red meat.
So is it saying that they're eating an equal amount?
So we're saying like some people don't eat red meat and some people do eat red meat, but they eat the same level of food of everything else. So like all like ice cream and cheese and all of that like is the equal amount.
So I don't like that because it doesn't tell me why that they're having more, they're consuming substantially more fat, but they're having an equal amount. That doesn't.
Well, an equal amount in others. So so essentially what this is saying is like all other things are equal other than some eat red meat and some don't. That's what C is saying.
I just don't.
Right. No, you're right. It's not right. Like, because it's like, it's not showing us, well, then why are people that are not eating red meat having substantially more fat?
It's not giving me my like, that makes sense.
Right. No, it's saying like, yeah, it's kind of like, okay, cool, but that doesn't explain our 2 points of
Mm-hmm.
conflict.
Right. D, people who reduce their consumption of red meat tend to replace it with cheese and baked goods, which are richer in fat than red meat. I like this.
Yeah.
The
Why did you
only,
flag this?
huh?
Why did you
Well,
flag
the only thing that I wasn't 100% was that kind of like what C was saying. How do I know that those that haven't reduced, like I didn't know if it was like they're eating more than people who don't eat red meat.
But our points, but what is our point, our conflict? Our conflict is, why are those that are reducing the fat eating more,
Consuming more fat.
consuming more fat?
Okay.
You know, like really pointing in. And so this is one you predicted, so that should have been a good sign. And
Yeah.
two, we're saying they're replacing it with something that is richer in fat than red meat. This it doesn't guarantee it, but it could explain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing about evaluate question is it doesn't have to guarantee it. It just has to be like a potential explanation that would work.
Okay.
And
Yes.
then E doesn't matter. It's like, okay, cool, but
Yeah.
this is because they're less, just because they studies are showing this, that doesn't explain why we're eating more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was stuck between C and D on this one because I was just having a hard time translating what C was saying, and I got it, but it was still like convoluted in my head.
No worries. Is this the one that they thought? No, what was the one that